I'm delighted to welcome you to this Time to Breathe series of 7 20-minute long meditations. Each of the 7 meditations has a preamble.
Preamble is 10 minutes ish. And the word preamble means to walk before, doesn't it? It's walking you through. If you want a little bit more guidance, support, help with what you're trying to achieve, or even to understand what and why things are structured in the way that they are. So I've tried to create the 20-minute session so it stands alone, so you don't have to access the 10-minute preamble. But they are a series, and that means that, again, I'm trying to keep that to the minimum, but there's a sense that each of the 20-minute sessions builds in a particular kind of way. We can loop through the same points. Often we're working with the cycle of the breath, and we return back to the same points, but each time another layer of depth is added. Then the experience and what it is that you're learning broadens and deepens. Each of these meditations appear on YouTube as an audio with a visual, and the visual includes this wooden frame here. The wooden frame, I'll tell you a little bit about this wonderful thing. I don't know what its purpose is. I don't know why it was made. I don't even know for sure who made it. But I found it under the eaves while spring cleaning earlier in March. And I can say that it's been beautifully hand whittled and sandpapered in a very kind of loving way. And by a process of elimination, I've come to the conclusion that it was made by a dear friend, supporter, mentor, guide, who died 4 years ago. And it would be rather characteristic if this was a gift from Gordon Nixon, enigmatic as it is, but it always appears on the screen, and it represents, in a way, an ongoing connection with somebody who was very dear to me. And I'm using it in a very particular kind of way. I'll say many times over that nobody can create a breath. The series has an umbrella title, The Mechanism and the Mystery of Breath. And while nobody can create a breath, I've created a model. And that it's a way of pegging out your experience of what is ultimately both a wonderful mechanism and the deepest mystery. But what this little frame can do is create a sense of squaring the circle or the cycle of the breath so that it has 4 distinct corners. And those 4 distinct corners go like this, that would be an in-breath, and that changes at a certain point. And it doesn't have to immediately go to an out-breath until there's a moment when you release, and then that release becomes the out-breath. The out-breath isn't a collapse. As it is, it's a controlled release. This corner is particularly interesting. It's the point where ordinarily, as you're speaking, you would breathe again. But there's already a residual amount of air left, but it can no longer support the breath. There's always that residual air left. And one of the things that opens up there, as particularly in this series, is how to open up that space between more or less the end of an out breath and creating a distinct space before the beginning of the next in breath. So that sequence.
An important theme of this series is exploring the particular use of attention that can take a tight, restricted potential space and allow it to blossom into an open space. And that works at all kinds of levels in terms of what happens in terms of the inner environment in the body. It's full of compartments and cavities and channels that can get restricted, and this particular training and discipline of the attention can find these areas that are restricted and open them up a little bit like the frustrating supermarket bag. It's no good as a container until you open it up, and that's what this quality of attention can achieve. So this way of looking at maintaining a kind of anchor for your attention on the ever-present, ongoing rise and fall of the rhythm of the breath. Part of the discipline of that is to make sure that you can maintain and sustain that focus of attention. So there are difficulties. There are difficulties indeed. Distraction is one of them. Dogs can bark, telephones can ring, and thoughts can pop into your head. And despite the fact that you were very clear at the outset that you were going to keep your attention working and training it to maintain it on an object of attention, which is the breath, it skips off. So while the video part of the sequence, of each sequence, is not particularly the major part of the meditation, it may well be useful to come back if your attention skips off, for example, and just to come back and re-access where you are in this current breath cycle, the one that you are re-entering, if you like, finding a point of re-entry. So maybe this little framework is of interest, so that it can be used as a visual mantra, but at the moment it's just an aid to the process. So the other little procedural detail is the 20 minutes is not exact. Sometimes it's a little bit less, sometimes a little bit more, but it begins and ends with the sound of the singing bowl that that I bought in Kathmandu.